Okay, let's see if we can make this a quick tour. Once upon a time you saw the garden, now you just see flowers. These are the fireweeds, I think they're called in English, the attracting pollinators here as you see. But among them are radishes. I've eaten those that I wanted and the rest I kind of just let them grow. And it seems that those that have not gotten proper support, I didn't pay attention. I should have, stitched them up on the wild ones here, which, as such, the cracking and I'm probably breaking it is a damn mess. Something like that, it's something simple could have been done, but I just didn't care to do it because, as you now notice, with all the white flowers around, I happen to have plenty. So taking the succession here fairly quickly, this is the thinnest layer, which is a little bit soil and char that bulked it up. You see the fencing has already been grown through with the weeds. The fireweed that was cut back, it just, you see here, they just spread out and I had to cut them a couple of times, but because they got so dense, they really crowded out. Eventually the sunflower seeds came through here, but I guess the soil here is a little bit too poor for the time being. Had some onions that are planted a little bit late among these. Also the seed from here, there seems to be, because like you notice here, there's the seed pods from the radishes, and I'm not sure if there is a lack of pollination or that there are actually some critters that come in and pick them up, because you see there are several places that are big ones, and then there are lots of places where you see kind of broken up, or like, yeah, it doesn't seem like they're there. I'm not entirely sure when to take it. As far as I know, they should be snapping, and they don't seem to do that yet. Usually I would have access through here, but since I don't really go here too often, see, when they have support like this, they seem to be doing just fine. The potatoes seem to be a little bit too crowded, but at least it did come up. The linseed cover crops have started to flower some places, so probably going to have even more pollinators. Yeah, you see the seed pods here should be giving me like quite a lot. And when I start pulling these guys off for a I'm just going to pull off the entire thing, and then I'm going to char everything, this biomass, into biochar, and then I'll just dig down the radishes. If I can't give it to the nearby pig farmer or something like that, I'll just dig down the radishes again. And then probably the potatoes will be allowed to grow a little bit more before they go to seed. I drag them up, and then I let some of them to seed because that's just going to be fun. Yeah, so I mean, before the so while the fireweed and all the other wild stuff were growing out here, I had planted also a ton of linseeds. This was more as a cover crop in addition to the biochar layer, which I use as mulch, because I did some experiments with some hay and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't really do well for me because it attracts a whole lot of sludges. You see here some late spring onions, which apropos, yeah, all beds have been given this whole surface mulching layer. See how massive these little radishes, you wouldn't really think about it, but when they started bolting, they really start growing. So that's a good way, I think, to kind of acquire some extra biomass and attract pollinators. And let's say you're going to let your little plot run fallow. In this case, I'm doing it because I want to be producing so much seeds that it's not an issue for me, either in the summer or year-round. Incidentally, this is why you're seeing the seed pods here from both the spring onions and regular onions. I did an error by cutting off here way too early. So these are still quite far. I cut them off because I thought they were kind of emptying their seeds here, but apparently that wasn't the case. There's actually some garlic inside all of that mess, yeah, but I don't think I'm going to care doing anything. I might pull it out later, but let's get this video done. Still more like everything you see here, at least, is a different kind of potato all over. Like several bags with different types. Obviously, when they are placed here towards the edges, they seem to do quite a lot better. The sunflower seeds have been growing very slow, and I thought first it was the sunflower seeds that would be inhibiting the potatoes, but the appearances for me is that it is the other way around. The ones over there, which had fairly poor soil, have no potatoes, and they grow taller. There are some exceptions here, where they, for example, if you go, here we have like a decently nice one, but it was planted quite late, so for that reason, it might not even have a flower head. The linseed that was planted here, you can see, obviously having a lot more sun, they ended up flowering a lot earlier. These are carrots, but there were oh yeah, tons of spiders down here. Spiders love this area where there's coal. I don't really know why, but I of course don't mind. But there was a very poor germination rate with the carrots this year, and that's probably what failed the most. And I don't mind, because I just, for lack of any better seeds to buy, that's why I threw it in. And I don't particularly like carrots, so I don't really care. This is very neat biomass as well. It kind of keeps a good consistency. So let's see now. Is there anything else to add here? Like you see occasional fireweeds are left here. They kind of function a bit as a trellis, but also as a kind of, masking pollinator and stuff like that. This is, after all, just the first year of testing. Next year there will probably be a more reasonable approach to all this. So I'm just gonna quickly go through here. I'm charring a path, but I've stopped the charring for the time being, because I'm going to, in any case, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be mowing all this down and collect the greens as for whatever reasons. There are plenty of things. And then there will be a lot of the greener sprouts that are now choking out. They will come forth, and when the nearby farmers release the sheep, I'll just let them come here. The sheep have a lot to eat on, and in addition to sprouts from the willow, which are kind of low hanging, partially because I've also been pollarding and topping off, so they brush out more. In any case, the sheep will hang out here, and then they will keep getting shifty, dropping everything, and so this place doesn't really get depleted. Also because I'm axing over right across the grass here, so there's a bunch of wood chips getting dropped, and yeah, so on. But obviously, well, it's clear that I'm taking an approach where as much hands-off as possible, and I'm indeed, you wouldn't, if you didn't know where the garden is, you wouldn't find it. There are cases where this hasn't worked out too well. This place where I had plenty of radishes and scallions, I think, spring onions, yeah. There are some seeds I bought, but I don't think any of them germinated. They were just crappy seeds. The radishes did, but I don't see any seed pods on any of them. They all look chewed on. Much of the mulch that was on top here, the hay, has been eaten up. And yeah, I saw several times slugs over here, but I never saw them over there. This tree, however, has grown like amazingly. It wasn't bigger than this, and apart from me taking an occasional piss there, that's quite quick. This is a work in progress. I'm not going to get into that another day maybe, but here you can see that here I clearly took too much of a hands-off approach, or maybe not. Maybe this is actually better. What had happened here was that it was basically just some moss and rocks, and like there wasn't really anything down here. So what I did was, keep in mind a few months ago all this wasn't here, right? So this seemed like a kind of barren area. So I took this barren spot and I covered it with mostly some coal, and then I threw some hay on it, some straws, which I had raked together from previously, which hadn't been burned or eaten by sheep or whatnot. And then I planted all you see here, that's a bunch of peas, and the sole purpose of them is to add nitrogen into the biochar, and then on the succession rating you can kind of go about. So hopefully this plot would actually, because I know it kind of has sun around from most places, but I'm actually tempted to grow these nettles here, so I gotta collect the seeds from these. Let's see, camera plays it up better like that. Yeah, they are ready to harvest now, it seems. And then I can plant them out earlier next year and have this as a kind of nettle spot. Typically I will be going down here. I have down there, which wasn't, since it's shaded, it was intended for radish seeds, but I'm not going to bother stomping down the stuff that I'm going to harvest soon anyways. I haven't going to have plenty of radish seeds anyways, so I'll just yeah, I'll just let it do its thing down there. Let's see, moving on. Oh yeah, actually, I forgot. Oh, now I remembered, I should say. I had planted several rows, actually, of sunflower seeds, which a while ago seemed to be doing quite fine, but since I can't find them, I guess not so much. Looks like something has... There were several more of them. I'm not sure. They seem to have completely disappeared. I wouldn't be surprised if the moose just came and nibbled them, just like they did with the willows that have saplings that are putting out. Yeah, you see, it's been chomping on the rowan here, recently grown. So he probably just, while eating and grazing, yeah, here, moose track, right here. So it was just eating up all my sunflowers here. Maybe the culprit for the who took the radishes and stuff like that. But again, I guess that just goes to say that you probably do want to have quite a lot of wild stuff going around if you want to have animals roaming by, eating as they do. Because while sure they may be eating your crop, they're probably not going to be eating all of it if you have plenty otherwise. Yeah, underground chimney. So here I've been grilling and stuff, but I'm going to be removing. As I said, this is work in process. Digression. Let's see, where was I heading? Right, so this area is recently becoming topped and opened up here as well. Essentially, trimming down the trees or taking off the top, especially on the lower elevations, so that the light gets in. You know, you see the willow there is crowning out. That was taken the year before. So it won't be before next year we'll see the birches start doing pretty much the same. Well, with an exception of this one, actually, because I took it last year. So you see it's sprouting out along the stem, becoming bushier. Not to mention, it's a lot easier to harvest the wood mass that you can then char and use for whatever. So by taking off these tops or trimming them down, the light has been let inwards, and by topping these bigger trees, you know, I get to keep them. Obviously there won't be many crops here, or all crops that are going to be good to have here, but having converted most of this to by either dumping soil or dumping coal or a whole bunch of wood chips or stray and like see grasses here, like these it would be more greens here, but I keep smothering over. So I take it at this point this place should be ready for for just a thin layer of topsoil, and then I can have fairly decent growing operation going here. And the trees that are here, which is still some need to be topped, probably want to take that big branch there. And these days I had a little bit problem with the ladder being a little bit short, and their curve and you know, makes them a little bit dangerous, because they are actually heavy enough to cause a big damage if they build up. You know, that curvy one, it builds up tension, and before you know it, actually chops in your head. It's going to be like having a horse kick in the face. Probably not a pleasant experience. So let's see. No, that was... Yeah, I have another thing going on here. I'm not going to get into that now. Finalizing the food crop production thingy. Peas. I mentioned earlier that I used them to add nitrogen into the soil. And here you have one exclusive experiment for that express purpose. This used to be a big coal pile, and now much of it has been shoved up to build more growing further up and everywhere, and like hundreds of liters are spent inside there, hundreds of liters in that some piles over there. I've at this point really lost count, but there were like 4 or 5 cubic meters here, far from the only pile of coal that I had. But now that I'm about to be mass producing a whole lot more, I decided before, since I know I'm going to be doing it, that this part I could see if it will be accelerating, because I noticed like you will see certain wild plants with capabilities, shall we say, and mosses that are nitrogen fixing and so forth will grow straight on coal. You see, it's pretty much just coal, and then they'll add organic matter into it, and the microbial activity will increase, since the biochar also has a lot of porosity and houses a lot of the bacteria, which in this case means that the peas and other legumes, they actually fare quite well in a very nitrogen poor soil with a good drainage, like you have with biochar. The error I have done here is, well, obviously there's no trellises. The other thing is that they were very heavily crowded. I have noticed that on the places where I kept, because here I've been kind of coming by and harvesting just the greens to eat them, and it seems that when their arms and so forth get sufficiently cut, they get kind of damaged and a little bit, yeah, they yellow out. But there's another reason I think this happens, and it's one thing is that it has been sunlight deprived. You see at this part here, it's mostly shaded by the trees. I haven't taken those. That one was fairly recent. So most of the year this place have had very little sun to speak of. And then there is another thing I suspect, and that is that they like it somewhat acidic. And I did a test on when I grew these on coal indoors, and I had made successions where I ended up enriching the coal to the point where I could start growing onions and stuff like that. And then I tried to fertilize with a little bit of a very dilute solution of potash. And what I think happened is that the alkalinity spiked, and that killed off all the peas. But everything else went fine, and that might be the case right here, because there's a fair deal of calcium and so forth. So there might be that they have reached there's a lot of alkalinity from ashes that have washed down from the whole pile, and now the roots are reaching it, and they're yellowing. Or maybe I'm just full of shit and not knowing really how the life cycle of these guys work. But one thing I can say is that they are producing pods. They have made flowers, which clearly are doing something. I guess insects are liking it. They are very resistant to damage, and they are barely eaten by pests as far as I can see. They're cheap. They can be utilized either for food production, or you can just use it to enrich the soil. The point here is that peas are ridiculously easy to plant. So for any beginners, peas and radishes and onions, definitely something you should go for. Potatoes, also not too difficult. Carrots, in my experience, not so much. Hey, so, yeah, well, that's a long, pointless chat. Oh yeah, this place is also, I just covered it to take care of some of the soil I excavated from yeah, a drain I was making. Hey, yeah, this is a ridiculously long video. Bye bye.